Sporting Journal Radio, presented by Onyx.
All right, welcome back to Sporting Journal Radio. My name is Brett Amundsen. Thank you for tuning in on this station right here on the network, by listening on demand at sportingjournalradio.com, by downloading wherever you get your favorite podcasts, or maybe you're watching this on YouTube. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. We'd love to hear from you, too. Comment below anything that you hear in this interview. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, make sure you comment below, like this, and share it with your friends as well. That's Dan Amundsen sitting right over there. Dan, how you doing?
Hey, still doing good.
Oh, good. That's good.
Not bored yet.
David Eckhart right over there. And we're joined right now by somebody I met a few years ago at Pheasant Fest. I think Bob St. Pierre introduced us, and I've seen her on social media from afar here and there, and had a chance to talk with her a little bit lately, and wanted to bring her on the show to talk about everything that she does. It's Anna V. Anna V. Outdoors joins us right now. Anna, how you doing?
Hey, guys.
So you sound a little bit further south in the country than we are up here in Minnesota.
I'd say so. Yep, I'm back in Georgia.
Georgia. All right. Is that where you're from? Georgia?
It is. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yep.
What do you like about living in Georgia?
The winters right now, I'm not dodging any blizzards.
Do you get any snow down there at all?
If we do, it's 3 to 4 inches max, and it's gone in 24 hours.
And it shuts down the whole state.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
We're not incompetent. We're just not always prepared for that. But you know, our nightmare is ice. If we just got snow, it would be great. But I'm in the foothills of the Appalachian. So the Appalachian Trail starts about 20 minutes from my house.
Okay.
That's not very fun when everything's covered in ice, you know, to be on these hills. So that's our main problem.
So I was just going to ask you what part of the state or what you have around you, because I don't think I've ever been to Georgia. I don't think I've even, been through the Atlanta airport on a layover.
That's all I've seen. It's pretty
special. Been to the airport?
Then I would say you've seen the worst part of it.
I'd agree.
I drove through Atlanta in rush hour, and it was wall-to-wall cars for 8 lanes.
That's got to be worse than the airport.
It was awful.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You grew up around the mountains then, spending time in the mountains?
I did, and I lived just across the county line of where I grew up. So as all the people are headed north of Atlanta, we just keep moving a little further north too.
Sure. So what do you do? Like what kind of activity? Do you hunt up in the mountains? What do you do there, and what do you chase around? And how do you not get bit by snakes or stuff like that?
Oh god. Okay, so snakes is probably my least favorite thing of being here in Georgia, and why I loved being in the Midwest and then up in Wisconsin, because it's nothing like what we have here. I've just talked one of my closest friends into painting again. And so we were out taking photographs of my dogs out by the creek. I don't know, it was probably like 3 weeks ago. And I shot a copperhead right out there. I mean,
oh boy,
it's January and they're still out. I mean, granted, they're slow, but you just got to watch where you walk and
kill them all with fire. I don't like any of them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I live in Chippewas. Chippewas, if I go out past the backyard, which I've got 3 ponds right here in the backyard, so you still have to watch where you're going. But, yeah, like you just live in snake boots and cutoffs. I mean, I don't know. It's bad.
Man, and like snakes in general don't bother me. It's the ones that can kill you.
Yeah, the poisonous ones.
Things that kill you kind of suck.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. What
well,
else?
I mean, I'm just petrified in general. For some reason, I'm kind of a magnet. So in the summertime, which I haven't been here in a while, consistently, I usually would just come home for like 3 or 4 weeks and then leave again. But I missed it, and my parents are building a really cool community business in their retirement. And I just felt kind of guilty for missing out. And my oldest is transferred to UGA. That's only about 45 minutes down the road. And so I'm like, I'm missing too much of home. It's a season that I need to be back in Georgia the majority of the time. So, but during the summer, I hop on a golf cart with Mom in the middle of the afternoon, and we literally go copperhead hunting. So she drives around.
That's awesome.
It's a creek that runs two sides of the farm, and then we have 5 ponds, and we just go out for fun, and I shoot snakes.
You know, when you ask somebody what they like to do with their mom, copperhead hunting doesn't come up very often.
Oh my
That's
God.
great, though.
She's crazy. I came back home and she's like, I'm sick and tired of doing all the paperwork for the fall festival. I mean, the story of this property is funny within itself. And then if you ever met my parents, they're not the ideal people that would even have this story. And she's like, well, all I wanted to do in retirement was to learn to drive a Bobcat, but I can't pull a trailer, so I'm glad you're home.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So you were spending time up in Wisconsin. Was that for dog training, dog trials, things like that?
Okay, so I got started in, let's see here, Mercy's born in 2014. So my oldest first short hair I got in like the fall of 2014. And I had no idea what I was doing. I was a cowgirl. My oldest was showing horses. We were just traveling all around living the barn life. And a dear friend of mine who was a roper got into short hairs, and they're beautiful. And I just loved them. And it was really cool what he was doing with them. I just couldn't understand why he got out of roping, because he was really successful, to just do these dogs. I'm like, you just take your dog with you, right? Like, he changed his whole life, and I never thought we would not own horses. So I get a dog. Lord have mercy, I did not know what I'd committed to. And so I about went crazy, and a group of us friends got dogs out of this litter. And the mom was like my favorite short hair I'd ever met, blah, blah, blah. So we were all geeked up about it. I called them one day and I said, y'all better find me somebody to help me with this dog, because I can't do this. I'm ready to ship her off. I said, send me the best trainer. So they sent me Rick Hopkins, who's over in West Georgia. He's as north as I am, but he's far west. And I have now learned that he's like the godfather of short hairs. And so I was like, he is my savior in this life. So I just dropped her off for 4 months. I got my life back in order, and I'm like, okay, I got to learn what I can do with her to keep her happy, because I love her. And he was tournament hunting. So UFTA was, I mean, it wasn't really new in Georgia, but it was a very small circle, and the organization wasn't near what it is now. So all the guys that are running this tournament hunting, which you guys are probably familiar with it, but a lot of people have no idea about tournament hunting. And essentially, it's a game with you and your dog competing to bag birds in a timed field, averaging 10 to 15 acres, and you're sequestered. So you don't see your plants, and you have a judge. So it's the quickest amount of time you can bag the amount of birds necessary with the least amount of shells wins. And that's how I got introduced to bird hunting. I had gone in a dove field when I was a teenager with him, and they wouldn't even let me carry a gun. And I'm like, okay, this is so insulting. I've been raised in the hunting world my whole life, but I loved the dogs, and it just sparked something in me. So a few years later, I don't know, probably was like 15 years later, I get this dog, and all I've seen is them bird hunt, and I've gone to watch. I'm like, I'm doing this. I had no idea that I had the worst gun I could have had. I had zero knowledge of shooting a moving target, and I had a fruitcake crack baby of a short hair that was a 2-year-old. Like, I was the worst tournament hunter in the history of tournament hunting, and I loved it. I mean, I was like, I don't know if I'll ever figure this out, but I'm not a quitter, so I'm just going to have a good time. And if I lose everything, as long as I leave having fun, I don't care. And Taterbug was like 2. So I'm here not really knowing these men. I'm the only female running in this circuit. And I've got a 2-year-old there with a bucket of John Deere tractors and her little Ducks Unlimited chair. And I'm like, okay, whoever's not running in a field, here's my kid. I'll be back 15 minutes or less, right? So that's kind of how it started. And I'm like, once a month, I just hung out with all these old guys that wrote the rules for the UFTA. And I'm like, if I ever figure this out, I am going to make these dudes pay for all this, you know, all the teasing and everything when I first got started, because my dog had no manners, and she'd jump on the back of her feet to the line. And I mean, she was just horrible. But I didn't know what the standard was. I just had no idea. So I just had good time. And so that opened a door with Ducks Unlimited here. And I mean, I'm probably like the anti's worst nightmare because I get into hunting for money and trophies. And
Yeah, but you did. But to be fair, I think what you really got into it for was working with your dog, and that's what I think a lot of people enjoy about bird hunting in general is that dog work. But the trophies and money are nice too.
Oh my God, I was like, I just want to win a trophy sometime. Like, this is so cool. And these guys are got their belt buckle for being in the Hall of Fame. And I'm like, I just want to live this life. Like, this is so cool. And these guys with their rigs and their trucks and all this stuff, I just loved it. So Ducks Unlimited comes to me and they said, we want to bring in more women in our town. Now, of course, I grew up here. So it was a small town back then, kind of had that feel. You know, will you help us? And I was teaching women pistol basics and hosting deer hunts and turkey hunts. And I'm like, heck yeah, this will be fun. Well, they're like, okay, we'll host this 5-stand day. We've advertised it. We've got 25 ladies coming. And we've got this private farm of the 5-stand, like 10 minutes from my house. I'm like, this is a beautiful place. I can't believe I get this opportunity. Holy moly. I couldn't coach these women. I could keep everybody safe, but hitting a target was like not going to happen. Well, luckily nobody there knew anything more than I did. So we just had a good time and everybody wanted to come back. I went back to the committee meeting. I said, y'all better help me find a coach. I almost outed myself as an epic failure. You know, and I've taught all these ladies to shoot pistols. Everybody was feeling empowered. And then I'm like, this little clay target kicked my tail, you know? And so, so they found me my coach, and that was in 2016. And then I have to say, the first time I picked up a shotgun in a lesson absolutely changed my life. And the gift that I got from Demas was something that I'm still getting it. I still talk to my shooting coach every day because it turned out to be a mental management training, and I just got the skills of shotgunning. So for my first lesson in April of 2016, 15 months later, I won state super sporting. I was the only female in my class. And he kind of sucked me out of the gun dog world, but I was driving around. He was just as bad as me. He's got an L-Hue pointer on the clay course. So here we got my crackhead short hair in the back tied into the golf cart. He's got his L-Hue short hair, and we're shooting clays all over the state of Georgia. And it was hysterical, and it was fun. And that experience was great. But once I got my feet under me and I understood what I was doing in the shotgun world, and I'd started training people, I wanted to get back to the dogs. And so that's when I found myself in Wisconsin hosting a ladies hunt, and a blizzard came. And so then I was learning about force fetching, you know, on the driveway full of ice. And they said, well, we have got a tournament coming up. Well, the funniest part about this is that I was like anti-lab.
Oh boy. I don't know if we can keep talking.
No, this is probably the highlight and the biggest story of all. Number one, the short hair culture is nothing short of a cult.
Oh yeah.
And that was the world I was in. And by then I had 3 of them, and I didn't understand the purpose of the lab because I was a quail hunter and I was a clay shooter. And at that time, nobody was flushing with a lab down here. It was all Cocker Life, and I didn't want a lab dog and blah, blah, blah. So me and my short hair mentality with all my short hair friends, well, that was the only dog that anybody cared about. And so I had always gone to my DU committees like, I don't understand why y'all want a lab. Like, it's kind of like a generic dog. Like, what do y'all do with them? You know, and so
I'm fighting words.
Yeah, fighting words there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I end up in South Dakota. And this was 3 weeks before my first Wisconsin trip. And I hunt with the most gorgeous black labs, and having to keep up with them and understand the whole flushing world. So the guy that was with me up in Huron, that's part of the Ringneck Festival. So they took me hunting on wild birds before the festival started. I was like, my dogs are not even getting out of the truck. They can't hold a candle to this. And this whole thing just happened, you know, like you don't know until you know.
Yeah.
And I got into this world not knowing anything. So all I knew was the experience that I'd had in front of me. And so I was like, oh my God, I think I've just gone hashtag short hair snob to hashtag happy hypocrite. I got to have one. And so 3 weeks later, I was in Wisconsin and the blizzard came, and the trainer there said, okay, if you want to run the dog that I've got that just won Worlds in BDC, which was a bucket list thing. Here I had bombed UFTA, and that's just 3 quail in a small field. I gotta bag 5 chucker in a bigger field. I don't know, like with a flusher. I've never even watched a flusher field. And so we practiced one day in like knee deep snow. Oh my God. That's you're running around in the cattails, the bird swings around in the wind and your feet don't move, and then your body's halfway turned around. I mean, it's just like a whole nother learning curve, right?
That's the best time. I love hunting. Yeah. That's late season hunting. That's the best time.
Well, I took second.
Hey, there you go.
And I was like, okay, I don't care what I've said in the past. People can throw it in my face for the rest of my life. I'm getting one of these dogs. And so I ended up with a dog from their kennel. And I've just had the best time, and that kind of sparked me getting back into tournament hunting and living out that dream where I could put the skills. Like, I had no skills when I started. I just had passion. And then I put the skills together, and that's why I learned to train, was because it made me a better handler. It is an addictive thing to have that reward when you love dogs that much, you know. But it wasn't my calling. It could distract me from my calling. I love it so much, but yeah, I didn't travel this year with a trailer full of dogs, and I kind of got spoiled. So I don't know if you could talk me back into 15 dogs in the Midwest dodging all the ice.
You had 15 dogs?
At one time, yeah. Well, if it wasn't mine, it was client dogs. So yeah, sure. I was hauling that many. Yeah.
So you're saying that you bought a lab then? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Littles.
Okay.
Come here.
Oh, you got the lab with you. There you go.
Let's prove her. You know, they're with us all the time. There she is.
A yellow even. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So how many dogs do you have right now then?
I just have 3. I have my OG, Mercy. She's still a crackhead. You know, you make all your mistakes with your first dog, but she started it all, and she'll always be the queen. And then Taterbug has her Dolly, which was her first dog she got when she was 3. And then I have my littles.
How old is Mercy?
Mercy's 8.
8, okay. All right. Yeah, it's fun. You know, I've got 2 labs, and when I got the second one, I was a little worried about getting a second one because sometimes, hi Dan, sometimes, you know, they're a lot of work. Dogs can be a lot of work. I travel a lot. I'm like, man, do I want to get a second dog? I got a second dog. I got Tiny. She's awesome. And after 1 year with her, once she got done, you know, pooping and peeing all over the place, I was like, all right, I'm ready for a third dog. I want to get another one. Now I just want to. Dan lives with me here in the house. He's just shaking his head like, no, we don't need more dogs around here. But I think we do.
Don't talk about it.
Yeah, I think we do.
I want one so bad. Yeah. It's not the time for me either. But okay, so have you done any testing with your dogs? Have you
I've never done really much of the hunt tests other than just some fun things here and there. We've done some TV shows at a few of the competitions, and then Corey Loeffler, who I got Tiny from, he's got all his dogs, titled and has done all the competitions, got all the awards and little initials in their names that you need to get. So he's talked to me about doing it, and I probably will eventually do it with Tiny. But a lot of times I've been spending my summers the last few years up in Saskatchewan, so it's been usually during around that hunt test season. I've usually been pretty busy, but I think I probably will this summer a little bit.
I just love it. And I haven't personally been running tests because when a Tater she just turned 9 in November. And when she got her first dog, you know, once again, I made a mistake and got her short hair at 3. It was going to be a long time before she could ever be independent with her dog in the field. You know, I mean, I still can't turn her loose with her gun. I mean, once the dog goes on point, we're right there with her and that kind of thing. She's tackling tower shoots right now, but her dog's already like going to be 6, and so I'm like, man, they've been a really cute pair and it's been fun watching them grow up, but she never is going to get to really enjoy everything that dog was. So that's why another reason I was motivated to get into the retriever world, because it offered her independence now.
Sure. So let me oh, go ahead.
Well, so she did spend a summer when we were in Wisconsin running AKC and got her feet wet in it and did amazing. And it was so cool to watch her finally, after she sat on the sidelines and watched her sister win all the time. She sat on the sidelines. She watched me win all the time. And she did it so graciously. And so now I'm like, okay, it's her season. We're back in Georgia. I'll send Littles to get trained all summer, so she could be a great duck dog next year, since I discovered waterfowl. I really enjoy that too. And
oh yeah.
And then let Hallie Joe just run wild with her, which that's going to make me want another puppy.
Well, that's what happens. You get a lab, you start to get into waterfowl hunting, and that's the beauty of the labs, is they're just so versatile. But knowing what you know now after having pointers and flushers, if you were going to get another dog, which direction are you going to go? Because I pheasant hunt with my labs all the time. I probably pheasant hunt more than anything else, but I waterfowl hunt. That's a pretty close second too. But I pheasant hunt so much, there's times where I'm like, man, I really should have a pointer, but I like labs too much to have, I just don't think I'll ever go away from them, So if you were going to get another dog now, what would you do?
I would get another retriever. And I'm really picky too about like the pointing labs. Like, I'm like, if I'm going to get a pointing dog, I just want a pointer. Because the fact that I got started in this life, and I'm just so grateful to even have a career. Like, when I first started, I had no idea that you could have a career doing this. I had no idea that there was this massive outdoor industry. I just loved what I was doing, and I was introduced to people to help me get to the next step of my own personal goals, which was winning in sporting clays or winning in the dog world. And so because of that, I got introduced to what opportunities are really out there. In saying that, I think I'll always be attached to a short hair because of photos like that. It's like, I don't see myself not having one, but I could have 10 labs for the headache of 2 short hairs.
They are high strung.
Yeah. Is that what you
had? Wire hairs.
You had a wire hair,
Listen,
yeah. Okay.
what is wrong with him not even wanting a dog? Can we keep you around? I was getting judged, but now I'm wondering.
Speaking of that picture, by the way, I think this is the first time I've seen you with a different kind of hat on, by the way.
Oh, with a ball cap on?
Well, yeah, right.
Every once in a while, I'll just bum. No, I look like this all the time.
Yeah,
okay, so the hat came from my cowgirl life.
Okay.
And this is very funny. I wore a cowgirl hat all the time. And then when I got into shooting and I signed up with CZ, like I became part of their crew and sponsored by them, blah, blah, blah. Traveling with Dave Miller. And he was like the demo king of the shotgun world, right? So we were at every event, setting up demos, getting all of their guns in the hands of everybody. And that's such a great entry-level gun. When people are like, I don't know what to get. I don't know. I guess it's probably like the best bang for your buck kind of thing. But I pulled up to one event that I actually drove to. I think it was the first time I drove. And my straw hat was upside down on my dash. And he was like, you need to wear that. And I'm like, no, I had worked so hard to have like my sporting clay image. It was super sporty, classy, all this stuff. And then I was like, Anna at home, right? And he's like, no, you really need to wear that. And I'm like, I don't know. So I did. And then the next thing I know, like everybody just looked for the girl in the hat. Oh, the girl in the hat told me about this certain gun or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, I can walk around anywhere without my hat on. Nobody has any idea who I am. So yeah, it was all Dave Miller's idea. And he saw it, and I didn't even really know what was to come of it. But I had always worn a hat made by Trent with Greeley Hat Works. JC always showed in his hats. And So when he made hats for the first season of Yellowstone, I messaged him and I was like, Beth wore this hat. I'm filming with Gundog TV and I got to have it. So, we got to get on this because it takes forever. He does everything old school, is truly handmade. And sometimes you have a wait to get a Greeley hat and it's worth it, but I didn't have the time. And out of that spun me helping him design an outdoor hat line. And so it all
really?
came because,
Cool.
So there's the Gauge line with Greeley Hat Works, and it's all inspired by places I've been.
Oh, that's really cool.
I've never really told that story before. I guess I need to, but that's what they're all about.
You heard about it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Sporting
That's
Journal
the
Radio.
Sand Hills right there. That
Cool.
is, I see that hat and all I can think of are the massive blisters that I got in Nebraska. Oh my God.
I'm not sure that's how you sell hats. When you get this, you'll think of the blisters.
But I thought, I saw that hat and the color of it and just being in the Sand Hills of Nebraska and running that tournament with a bunch of the guys from Quail Forever, Pheasants Forever. That was just a blast. It was my first time hunting in Nebraska. So that's where that hat came from.
Well, we are out of time today, unfortunately, but we're going to talk more with Anna V next week here on the show, and we'll have an extended version of today's discussion with Anna on the podcast, which you can download on any podcast platform or on demand at sportingjournalradio.com. And don't forget, you can watch extended versions of this show every week at the Sporting Journal Radio YouTube channel. So that's all for now. We'll see you next week.
Hear more at sportingjournalradio.com or wherever you get podcasts. 852 million acres of public land, 147 million private properties, all in the palm of your hand. The #1 hunting GPS app just got better. With hundreds of custom map layers, 3D and topographic maps, you can easily scout on the road or at home before you go. And now you can get important weather details, CWD detection, and even know what crops have been planted where. Get the most trusted hunting GPS app ever made. OnX. Know where you stand with OnX.